So it seems like there are a lot of components for a boxer to have a successful career, right?
Yeah.
And then please correct me if I'm wrong. You have obviously your fighting record
Yeah.
plays a big
Of
deal.
course.
The type of boxer that you are, promoters, management, sponsors,
Yeah.
your ability to raise funds, right? Seem to be
Yeah.
key contributors to boxers' success. Um, is it true when boxers who are trying to build their name in the professional arena have to pay promoters to get on their card?
To some degree, yes. There's no question about it. In fact, in most cases, if you're a guy who doesn't have a crazy amateur background or you don't have a lot of internet fame, which is something that only has been more recent, or you like the amateur background situation with guys who get paid on potential. If you're not a kind of guy who can get a sponsor or a promoter or whatever to pay you on potential, then you're going to have to work hard. It's going to take. It's almost like guys in the music industry having to sell CDs out their trunk. You know what I'm saying? You got to work. You got to hustle your game. You got to hustle. You got to hustle by yourself until you get somebody that thinks thinks enough of you to put money behind you because they believe in the talent that you have. So, for me, I was blessed that even though I didn't have the craziest amateur background, I had enough experience and I was good enough. I was extremely talented, right? You could see it. That there was guys who, hey, he's good, but man, I don't see the future. He's too small as a heavyweight kind of thing. So, thank God for the guys who actually, got behind me a little bit, but I didn't have to worry about selling tickets too much early on. And that's really the way a lot of guys earn money. So if you want to say, okay, and I've met a couple guys that did this, and I've had to do it a couple of times, but I just didn't know because, my dad was helping me with my career, and the promoters, I didn't really deal with them. I didn't talk to them that much. You know what I mean? So it was like this. My promoter would say, okay, well, we got a fight coming up, right? You want your son on this card, right? And they say, well, look, we don't have the funds to just pay for this opponent. We're going to have to create some kind of, maybe get some tickets sold so that we can at least pay for this opponent. Now, if you can sell more tickets, right, then you can pay yourself whatever is left. So say, for example, if your opponent wanted 10,000, well, you got to sell 10,000 worth of tickets.
But I just want to be clear. You're not actually selling 10,000 worth. You just need somebody to give you the 10,000.
Absolutely. Right. If you can. See, now, this is the thing. Like, say, okay, we need 50 tickets sold or whatever to cover your opponent's purse. You got to sell 50 tickets. You sell 50 tickets. You got an opponent. Congratulations. You got to fight.
But you're still not even getting
paid.
But
you ain't getting no bread for it.
That's wild, bro.
You ain't getting no bread for it. Now, check it. If you sell 100 tickets, now you're getting what your opponent gets. You know what I'm saying? Great. You congratulations, you're going to get paid. But how many people you going to be able to sell 100 tickets? So it's very difficult. For a guy like myself, who I moved up here, maybe 20 years ago now, but at the time I had just moved here early in my career. How was I going to sell 10 tickets? I didn't know anybody. You know what I'm saying? We didn't really know anybody up here. We knew a few people that were close to us, but and to be quite honest, how many people are really going to pay tickets? They're going to be asking you for a deal. You know what I mean? You know how we are. You know what I mean? Oh man, you gonna get me a deal to get on? You gonna give me a ticket? And like, bro, I need support. Oh man, I ain't got no money. It's okay. You know what I mean? But that's why it's so difficult for some of us here. You know what I mean? To get tickets sold. But then, I'll tell you, for example, I had this fight with this guy, I think his name was Mark Johnson, right? This was back in like maybe 01 or 02. And my guy, Vinny, who was my cut man, really close to us, man. He was like an uncle to me, he's still like an uncle to me. Italian guy, has his own contractor company, real good dude, and he used to do cuts for me and help me with weights. He was my first guy to help me get strong. We had to go to Vinny, man. We had to pay for this opponent. We needed $1,000 to pay this guy. He said, you know what, man, I got this. Took care of it. Made sure he sold, he didn't necessarily sell the tickets. He put the money behind us, sold the tickets. Couldn't get me any bread, but hey, and at the end of the day, we still got to fight. I ended up stopping the guy, and this is the crazy thing that happens in boxing too. Say the fight, there's a lot of knockouts on the card. You're a high level fighter, like, yo, come to you, like, yo, man, can you give us some rounds with this guy? Don't knock him out right away, man. Like, play with him a little bit. Not play with him, but you know what I mean? Like, carry him a little bit to like the later rounds, even though it was only a 4-rounder, like try to go later in the fight before you stop them. It's crazy. They would do stuff like that too. And now you ain't getting, first of all, you ain't getting paid. Now you got to be an actor. You know what I'm saying? And not, you know what I'm saying?
Obviously, they're doing that because they're betting on the fight, but they're not breaking you off because of that.
No, it's not even so much. It's not even so
for the fans.
Right. I mean, it was when if they're not getting enough rounds, there could be issues with, I don't know, the commission or whatever, and they're looking like, yo, we got to figure out a way to make this fight last long enough or whatever.
I see what you're saying.
Yeah. So it's not necessarily a betting thing. I mean, don't get me wrong. That could be something. I didn't even think about that, but that could be something. But it's more so you got to keep.
It got to look like a legit fight.
Exactly.
Yeah,
the whole card. Yeah. So if you got like 10 4-rounders and all of them in knockouts, like especially if they end in like first or second round knockouts, it's like what, we ain't got a card. You know what I mean? So, and then another thing is I think that was my first or second 6-round fight because of that only. I was still a 4-round fighter at the time, I think. So, and what that means is I've only had like maybe 2 or 3 fights, maybe 4 fights. I can't remember how many I had at the time I fought them. But these things happen constantly in boxing early on in the beginning stages.
So, like, how do you survive financially? Because you training, you're not getting no bread from the fights. So, like, how is this working out?
Well, me and my dad, I'm gonna tell you our situation. Me and my dad were delivering newspapers for the Post-Gazette. So, like, we get up I'd be probably up. I never even went to sleep. There was a period in my life where I swear if I would have probably went to sleep properly, I'd have probably been 6'4". But I slept through the night from when I was like maybe 12, 13 years old to 20 years old, where I barely slept through the night for most nights. I would sleep maybe 3 hours a day max. It was crazy. So, you know, we would deliver the Post-Gazette and it's 7 days a week. The only way that you didn't or got a day off is if you paid them to do your route that day. So every day you had to be there to do it. So even if fight night didn't matter. You know, that's why we fought. We had to fight in certain areas because we couldn't get on the plane and go nowhere. If we got on the plane, that means we gotta either get somebody to do it or sell that thing.
So that was the sole income selling papers?
Sole income, bro. Sole income. It was like 1,000 to, well, let's say like 1,200 a month back then. And that's max 1,200 a month. A lot of times it would go down because people would cancel and don't want the paper's getting stolen or whatever. Had to be there every day. And that's 300. And we had 300 papers on Sunday. Heavy, big Sunday papers that we had to put in this old broke down car that we had. And it was like, you had to do it.
So so you're there on the struggle, right? When did you get what was your first purse that kind of eased off the financial pressure?
When I was able to, like, it was when we were about to move to Philly. We were actually trying to see Don King because my dad was like, he makes millionaires out of black fighters. So he's like, yo, we got to see him. I don't care if he steal from us. I don't care. We just want to get out of this crazy rut that we're in. You know what I mean? So we went to meet him, and that's how we met Rob. And
so did you actually get to meet Don King, or you?
We met with Don.
So what was that? What was that experience like?
Don King shocked me, man. It shocked. You know, I was a kid. I didn't know. We met him at the Andrew Sixheads Lewis and Ricardo Mayorga fight, and he knocked Andrew Sixheads Lewis out through the ropes. And I remember being at the fight, watching the fight. After the fight was over, Don, went to the back room and everything, and then press conference area, and they were talking. And Don, only in America, and all that crap that Don did, all that was for the cameras. As soon as we talked to this dude, he talked like a straight, hood guy, straight hood. Like everything was like that. And I was like, only in America, Don King, this is him? And I was like, you got to think, man, he was locked up. He was that dude back in the day. You got to be careful with this guy. He a big guy, too. He ain't no little guy. So it's
dude. I saw him in New York twice, bro. He's like, even in older age, he has an intimidating.
He ain't no little sucker-looking guy. You know what I mean? He got the hair, he all gray, he a little older now, but still. And it's like, when I saw him, I'm like, yo, this is a different dude than I expected, what he's talking and what he's saying. And there was a couple different people that wanted me to get to talk to him, but we actually got to him through Rob. There was one lady named Kim that was real cool with us, and she was dating one of the fighters I used to spar with, and she said they had a little in with Don, so she would talk to Don, and she talked to Don a little bit. So he actually had the conversation with me. But after the conversation, my dad was talking to Rob. He was like, "Man, you seem to know a lot of people in boxing, and I heard that you're a good dude in the sport to know, and so I was thinking maybe you can help my son and help me and my son get to where we need to go." And he was like, "You know what? I'll think about it. I'm gonna talk to my guy, and I'm gonna get back to y'all and let y'all know. And then I want to see him too. I want to see what he's about, boxing wise." So once that happened, you know what I mean, it got to a point where, once he saw me fight, and the fight wasn't even a great performance that I had in, but he was like, "I saw what I needed to see. He's extremely talented. He ain't worried about the performance. He won the fight. You know what I mean? He won the fight easy, even though it was hard. I guess a tough jailhouse dude, just got out of jail. He was 4-0. That was my second time fighting an undefeated fighter. He was 4-0 with one knockout. He just got his first knockout and fought me to an 8-round tough decision. I mean, he was tough and strong. I remember that. You could tell he was straight out of jail. Strong. Ain't no girls in jail. You know that when he grabbed you. But he saw the speed, he saw the ability, and he was like, "You know what? I like this kid. You know what I mean? He got a good attitude, blah, blah, blah." He said, you know what we're going to do? We're going to rematch him. The same guy in Philly at the Blue. So he did that. After that, which was another tough fight, but I dominated. I almost stopped the guy that time. But the guy cracked me. It was the most trouble I've ever been in a fight. He hurt me. I saw nothing but colors and was like literally couldn't see nothing. But I had my legs, everything was still there. I remember he hit me and the bell rang, bang, and then I turned around and my vision came back. I was like, "Yo, this is crazy." Because I wouldn't have known where to go. I'd have went to the wrong corner. I don't know where I would have been going. But anyway, so after he saw that and dealing with the overcoming the issue, then nobody knew I was hurt, by the way. He was like, "I like what I see." So he went to his guy, got the funds to bring me up. And that's
so how does it work, man? Do they give you upfront money to get you going, or they pay you? Oh, they give you the upfront money, then you gotta work it off, kind of.
When you're at the level I was at the time, skill wise and what they saw, if they're gonna pay you on potential, they're gonna have to pay you a certain amount because they don't want you to work. Because if you still got a job, you're not gonna be able to put your 150% in like you're supposed to. You understand what I'm saying? You can only do but so much when you got to work. You know what I mean?
Committed to that.
Right. You got it. But in order, and this is what I tell a lot of youngsters, man, and they want to, I want to box. I'm like, listen, do you really want to box, or you just, because you can't halfway do this now. Nah. You got to be 100% committed. So with me, it was great because Dr. Walter Lomax, one of the greatest men that we met, man, my man. He helped us. He helped fund our situation. You know what I mean? To help. He wanted to help black businesses and black athletes and stuff like that prosper, and he wanted to be a part of it. And so he gave us a great deal of money and backing to support us, to get us to the next level. And if it weren't for him, I don't know what we would have done, and I don't know if we would have got to that point. But yeah, upfront money. Get paid on potential to a degree. Then once you get to where you need to get to, obviously the money you got to start paying it back. You know what I mean? You got to start paying it back, especially if you start to make 8 figures, like, okay, or 7 figures, like, okay, brother, I got you where you are. Let's go. Let's get this thing going. You got to pay it back. And I obviously didn't have a problem with that or whatever, but yeah, you're paid that way, and then obviously you get the fight money and things like that start to happen later on, like my big fights, like with Vladimir and Povetkin and Dimitrenko and different guys like that. The money that came through with that was obviously enough to I was good. I didn't need any further help or anything like that. Any more money necessarily put behind me to keep me going, at least from a financial position. But even then, though, when you're not fighting, something that's important too for a lot of guys to understand is when you're not fighting and you don't have any endorsements, you don't have any of these other things going on, you're not getting paid. So this is where some guys get caught up and they end up still working jobs, is that, say you got into a situation where you're your promoter can't get you a fight, or sometimes it happens where your promoter will shelf you because of something that happened that you didn't do or whatever they didn't like, and they'll shelf you, and you ain't gonna have an opportunity to go and fight and get paid. So guess what you got to do? You got to go get some money. How you gonna get money? What you gonna do? You can't hustle the money. You don't want to get put in prison. So you got to work, and then once you have to start working,
Cut down your ability to train.
exactly. So now it's not like what in the NBA or even playing overseas in a lot of cases, depending on where you play. You know, you're getting a check that is going to keep you good.
Keep you afloat and you're
Keep
still
you afloat,
training and
absolutely.
working on and honing the craft.
Exactly, and you can continue to play, and then you can do everything with the team, and essentially sometimes you can eat with the team. I don't know how that goes. I haven't been there, but you know what I'm saying. But the money itself, financially, keeps you going. You don't got to necessarily pay for trainers during the season, only in the off season and stuff like that. But for the most part, like you said, the money they pay, you can handle that. It's not a problem.
So boxing is basically the purse for the fight. And maybe if you get endorsements, but does the endorsements go into your purse or the endorsements you get paid over the month? Like
You get paid. It depends on what deal you have with the company, and a lot of times they'll pay you. Hey, I'll give you equipment only or apparel only. Like I had something with Reebok.
Hold on, Fire. You telling me when people in the ring with Corona and Modelo all over the thing?
Nah, they probably getting paid in
alright,
some because I've had those little ones like that. Not saying that's little, but you know what I mean. Certain guys get paid. Like I got paid, like phone.com at one point. Yeah, you know, it was phone.com, something like that. That paid me a decent deal. You know what I mean. There was a couple other little small side ones I had.
But you talking about like these local businesses on the shorts and all
To a degree, yeah. Like I even had one with a local business by the name of Fam Juice. I had one with Fam Juice at one point too, which was cool, and it was nice. You know, I met the guy and talked to him and wore the shirt, did the whole thing, put it on my trunks, everything. It was cool. It was nice. It's a nice little thing, but once again, local. It's not nothing that's gonna keep you afloat when you ain't fighting. So that's like when your purse is the biggest thing you have. Hey, you better be fighting for millions. You know what I mean? And even if you're not, if you can't get those endorsements, you might have to work. You might have to work, and it's unfortunate for guys that are in professional sports. Like you'll see some of these guys who you know, and you look at like, oh, so and so, oh, okay, yeah, I remember him working a job. He's like, oh, why is he working? You know why he worked? Because he ain't had a fight in 10 years. That's why he working. You know what I mean?
You ever talk to boxers where pride gets in the way?
Oh,
and
yeah.
they don't want to work?
Trust me. I mean, I would say I'm one of them, but I'm not. I just don't like working for somebody because all these years I never had to. You know, even with the papers, we weren't necessarily working for anybody. It was indirectly. We were working for ourselves. It was an independent contractor type of thing. So it wasn't the same. So when you got a guy that can tell you when to eat, you know, tell you when to work, tell you basically when to sleep, it's hard for a guy like myself. And my dad never really was on that train. He never liked that. He never worked a regular job since I was born that I know of. But that's part of why we struggle. Sometimes you gotta say, well, I mean, I don't want to work for anybody, but I do need this check. And at the time there wasn't no Uber or Lyft or any of those things to do. So he couldn't just do that. He had to figure out these little people that went through the pyramid schemes, you know, work for these different companies that aren't really about you making money. It was just about you being a part of a pyramid scheme. And he had a felony too. So him getting a regular job wasn't necessarily something easy either, let alone not wanting to work for anybody. So it was just a difficult thing. So when you don't have the money, you don't got the fights, you screwed.